Hello everyone. So today we will be looking into how to create a RAG application using Semantic Kernel .NET, and the LLM which we will be using is Gemini. So let's get into it. The first thing that I want to let you know, this is a successor of another video where I have created RAG application using 5.3 of 5.3 model which is there in Olama. So it is basically a local application. So I will be using the same code, and that code I have mentioned in this video on my channel. If you can see here, build drag app with semantic kernel and Olama 5.3 model tutorial. So yeah, so now just what will change when we change the model, we will take a look at that. So let's get to explanation first, and then we will have code walkthrough. So first thing first, here this is the first step that we create in order to make the embeddings of our data, basically our PDF and all data that we want to query. So we have a data source, then we basically chunk that data, and then we embed that data and we store that data in the vector store. Now initially the embedding model which we are using is phi. So right now the embedding model which we will use is text embedding 004, which is provided by Google. In case of querying, what will change? So initially the thing which we used to query is, we used to use basically two things. One is embedding model and one is LLM. So as I have said, we will be using text embedding 004 instead of phi, and we will be using Gemini in terms of LLM instead of phi. So just in case if you don't understand this language, so basically we query first, then we embed that query, then using this embedded query we try to find the similar records in our vector store database. In our case we will be using the SQLite database, and then it will basically give us some relevant information on that, and using that we combine our query and the relevant information and give it to LLM. Then LLM process that and respond us with the more human like language terms, that what user is asking, what context it has of regarding that, and then it should basically try to create sentences out of it and respond to us. So now let's get to the code. So let's get started with the code walkthrough. So I have explained this code in too much details in the my previous video that I have shown earlier. I will link it somewhere in the description box so you can find it there. So first thing that we create is a kernel builder. Now kernel is like heart of semantic kernel, and it is nothing but basically just a dependency injection container, DI container. So we have basically created a container here. Then initially we were using Olama chat completion service, but now we, as I have said, that we will be using Google's Gemini. So I have used that here, and we have provided model here, and it needs API key. So in our case, I have stored API key in my environment variable. You can just directly paste it here and work with it. Next thing that I have completed the container. One more thing, here we were using add Olama text embedding generation, but we will not be needing that in this case because we will be using embedding generation from Google. Next thing, we are creating a memory using memory builder class, and then we are with memory store here we are providing that we will be using SQLite memory store, and I have provided it with database name rag data. Other than that, instead of here initially we had with text embedding generation, but now I have updated with Google's AI text embedding generation, which basically text embedding generation model name and same API key that we have used earlier. And then we have created this memory by building it. Next thing is we have to provide the collection name. Now in this case this is my older collection, so we have to update its name. Let's say I will be using dbtv5, and that is my collection name that I'm going to use. And as I have said earlier, as embedding is an expensive operation, so generally we create embedding once and store that and use that over and over again. But now initially, if you have seen my previous video, you might have seen that embedding is taking a lot of time to generate as we were using our local compute power. But as now we are using Gemini, so it is basically hosted on some cloud, so we have too much compute power there, so it's quick compared to that. Next thing is we get the collection that we have stored in memory and get all the collections and basically check for record if this collection exists there or not. Basically, if this collection exists there, then we don't do anything, and if this collection does not exist there, then what we do, we create a HTTP client, we create a string. Okay, I think this HTTP client is probably no more needed. Okay, I'm not sure, but let's understand this code. So the string is, and it is providing information about my friend named Ashish Surve and where he works, what his age, and all that stuff. Then the next thing that we do is we do chunks of this data. Here I have created chunks of 50 and 150 as my data is pretty small. If you have bigger documents, so you should create bigger chunks out of that. And one more thing, that as you are using Gemini service, so you basically have, as you have more compute power, so you can create more bigger chunks. Then we are embedding that data and storing it in our database. Now this method internally calls the embedding method that we were discussing about previously, and it basically embeds and store it in the database. Next thing, after our database memory is stored, then we just log here that we have created a DB. Then we get our AI service, that in this case is Gemini service, and we create chat history. Now, first thing that is different from the previous code here is, for some reason it is not taking add system message here. So what we will be doing is we will be adding user message by creating a empty constructor of chat history. Next thing, the another thing that I have changed here is I have added this. Okay, so we have created an infinite loop, and then we have created a string builder class, and we are reading the question. After reading the question, we are basically searching through the database using that question and collection name that we have, and then we are limiting the result set that it will return us to only 3 in case if there are multiple. And there is one more parameter that I have added. If you see, this parameter is basically minimum relevance score, so it is something that you can play with. So basically high relevance score means that should tightly match with the data in our database. So I think it should never be one, because then it finds for exact match. So if it finds for exact match, then that is a problem, because in that case it basically doesn't return us anything. Its default value is 0.7. I was not getting any result on 0.7 also, so I have updated it to 0.5, and now it is giving me results. So you can play with this number and try to get the result out of it. Next thing, we are appending it to the our string builder, and basically if after all this stuff we are just adding a user message with additional information that we have, that we got from the our database, and passing it as user message to our LLM. So currently we are adding it to chat history. We will be passing this chat history to our chat completion service. Next thing, then we are asking a question here by adding it to chat history, and then we are passing this chat history to our chat completion service. And the next thing is it gives us a response, and in this case we append that response to the string builder and just print that, and also add a chat history of the response that assistant have given us, so that it will have a context of information that it have said to us for the further conversations. So let's run this application and see how it works. So it has started. It is taking some time, okay, because it has created a database, or it has created a recording database, because it don't have embedding previously for that keyword collection name that we have provided. I will show you the database that it has created. So now if I ask him Where does Ashish work? Ashish works. Then I will just continue. So it has probably found something in SB. So yeah, it has found that data that we have stored in database. And the next thing, when we continue, it basically have returned us the information that he works at Larson and Turbo Infotech. And here is now Ashish is not a very popular person, so there is no way that this Gemini model has trained on his personal life. So that is the case. So yeah, that's all for this video. Yeah, one more thing. I want to show you the database that it creates. So if I go to the folder where this project is located, and if I go to the bin directory, debug, net 8.0, and here what we are looking for is a db file. Let's try to, yeah, rack data, and we have dbpd5 something like that we have created. So I have opened it in my SQLite viewer kind of application. I don't know what this application is called. Okay, just a moment, I'm trying to bring this to the code. Okay, yeah, okay. So I have kind of open SQLite viewer, and if we browse this data, so this is the latest collection that it has created. Then it has this text in metadata section, and also this is basically text that we have embedded. These two above rows are from my previous attempts, so I have created new one. And what it did is it created this embedding vector here, if you see. So embedding is just a numerical representation of the sentence that will be stored in n-dimensional space. And so that is the case. It is basically very mathematical, and I also don't know in that depth, but yeah, that is the thing. So it basically try to store the two values which are semantically equal closer to each other. For some example, if there are two synonymous values, let's say up and on, so it try to store them close to each other so that it is easy to found the data related and that sort of stuff. So thank you for watching everyone. If you find this video helpful, then hit a like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye.